Speaker in this session is Dr. He is Vice Chairman of South College, the Human Rights Organization. He is also Professor in the Department of Humanities at Dawson College in Montreal. He began his studies at the University of Chittagong in Bangladesh. He then did the University of Windsor in Canada, where his thesis topic was, in fact, the Rohingya. And then he received his PhD from the Department of Religion at Concordia. He's the author of many works. One book is Burma City Dots. His presentation is called Crisis in Arakan, Contemplating the Future of the Rohingya in Burma. Please join me in welcoming him.
All right, Honorable Chair and ladies and gentlemen, good to be here. Also because it was an opportunity for me to meet the scholars on the topic Rohingya. I didn't know, I was not in contact with them, but now it is starting to happen, and I'm especially fascinated to meet Dr. Jack Lader and also the rest of the people. So it says that we should always have dialogue with people, even when you are not in agreement on topics. That's what scholars should be. So I would like to start by saying a couple of things. First of all, I am originally from Chittagong and very close to Burma border. So I have been watching Rohingya people coming for a long time, even from my childhood. You will be seeing that in my presentation. So I see Arakan as a place which is continuously sending out refugees. And it has been, and then my studies into details gave me further insight into why that has been happening. And this will lead me to contradict, to say things, to respond to Dr. Lader's presentation. So I will be checking a few things there. I will also be responding to Dr. Wakaruddin's presentation briefly. Since my topic is crisis in Arakan, this is very general. So most of the things have been covered so far. So I will go quickly over so that the last part of my topic is contemplating the future of the Rohingya in Burma, so that I can do that. I also expect some people not would like my some of the slides. But just to let you know that in the university where I did my research, there is a Center for Genocide Studies. And they show things like what happened in Rwanda, in Bosnia, and in Hitler's Germany. And this is a human rights issue. So we human beings study these things and show them as facts so that we keep moving forward, not backward. If we academics just celebrate, deal with theories, we are not moving forward. One of the things we look forward is to see if we are doing research to move forward. And in this way, some of these things are going to be factual presentations of how this could be done. My training is basically, I'm a sociologist and then became a historian. So I prefer to deal with things as a social historian. And also I wrote my thesis from the University of Windsor on Rohingya using ethnicity and race as my specialization. That was from my sociology thesis done on my sociology degree. I will be, it was not possible until today, I would say, to have the opportunity to let you know about some of the research findings I have throughout the years that I did my research on. all my works are online, and whatever I'm going to say, you can go online and you will have lots of my papers on the Rohingya, on Burma, and I wrote a book on Burma as well. So I will go pretty brief I will be, so that I don't lose time. And let me start. This is the map of Burma, and I am originally just from here, just very close to Burma. And I have, before we started doing research on Rohingya people, I began in 1978. At the time, I was a professor at the University of Chittagong, and one of the professors came to see me and said, there are 200,000 or even more Rohingya people came to Bangladesh. Why don't you start a project? I heard about the word Rohingya, but I didn't know enough. In my village, which is very close to the border, we have Rohingya village. We have Rohingya people. So Bengalis and Rohingyas had fight when I was young. I still remember that. But when I began my research, all those things started to come up to my mind, that these are the Rohingya people. So I took some students and went to the border, Ukiya, that's the name, and I saw a sea of tents. I have never seen that many tents. And that was, these are Rohingya people came from Arakan. So I went to talk to people there, and I asked them, are you Bangladeshis or Burmese? They said, we are Burmese people. And they showed me NRC cards. I have a sample of that, I will show you, actual cards. And I saw them. Then I said, how come you are being thrown out of Burma? So, and little children went to their parents to get these papers when I asked for. So from there on, I began doing more research, and I came to the conclusion that these are Burmese people. These are people from Arakan, not from Bangladesh. But I didn't know anything about it. So before I finished my thesis, I also thought these could be Bangladeshis. But I went into details. I was consuming the Burmese propaganda that these people are Chittagonians. Just let me go into a little more detail. Through my research, I found out that Dr. Wakaruddin showed a slide. You have seen a circle there, which is northern Arakan and southern Chittagong. That part was actually where I come from. That part actually was the home of the Rohingya people. And if I can go back a little more, sorry, did I put it off? Okay, all right. So here it is. I want to start by saying that Arakan is a racial fault line. That's why you have this problem. You have the Mongoloid people mostly colliding with Indo-Semitic people from India. So that's one of the biggest problems. It's almost like Turkey and Greece in there. So when you have racial fault line, the fight is big. I think Dr. later talked about it also. The roots of the problem is in the past, in the historic Burmese invasions of Arakan. So instead of accepting the rhetoric or the Burmese narrative that Rohingyas are Chittagonians, my research shows that, I will give you the historical dates, you can take them down and check, that Burmese regimes have been invading Arakan for a long time. And as a result of this, you have not just in southern Chittagong, there are Rohingyas, there are groups in Chittagong hill tracts who are called Chakma. They are from Arakan originally, but before that they might be from another place, but they came through Arakan to Chittagong due to Burmese invasions. And it's in history, I'm not hiding anything. And then you have Tanchengya, who are also from Arakan. They came to settle in Chittagong hill tracts. You have Marma, who came from south of Arakan, in Burma, they are also from around Arakan. And you have Rakhines. In Arakan, you have fight between Rakhine and Rohingya. Some Rakhines actually entered Bangladesh during the British period, and they are the citizens of Bangladesh. So if Rakhines could be citizens of Bangladesh who entered Bangladesh during the British period, and Cox's Bazar, the name came from the British captain, Captain Cox, who helped them to settle the refugees. What is the problem with Rohingya? Even, let's say Rohingyas are British time settlers. Let's say, for the sake of argument, who are not, mostly they are indigenous people of Burma. But if you say that they are British time settlers, why in Bangladesh they could be citizens, okay, not in Arakan? Let's continue. Arakan was a medieval kingdom. So let's start from here. We are talking about Burmese citizenship. But behind that story, there is another story. Arakan had been an independent kingdom for a long time. And Burmese people, Burma invaded Arakan in 1784. So before that, it was an independent kingdom. Rakhines in the Burmese military administration responsible for the Rohingya extermination. I will also be touching this point. How come we just blame Burmese government for everything, but I will show you that even Rakhines are very powerful within the Burmese military. This has not been explained in detail. Rakhines are 30% of Burmese army. 30%. They are only 5% of the total Burmese population, which means that in every Rakhine home, you have people in the army. So they are extremely powerful in the Burmese army. So we are blaming Burmese military, but at the same time, Rakhines are powerful within the Burmese army. So my new findings. We have been talking about Rohingya, that Rohingyas are new settlers, British time settlers. But my findings are that Chakma, Tangchenga, and the Rohingyas all came from Arakan. And this brings me to a little bit of linguistic thing, that Chakmas, who came from Arakan, and they are Mongoloid by race and Buddhist by religion, how come they, for the name God, they say Hoda? How is it possible? Because Chakmas, when lived in Arakan during the 8th century, where there was a Hindu kingdom, Chandra Hindu kingdom, the Hindu kingdom had Arab sailors, and there was a synthesis of Indian, Hindu, and Arabs, and Persians. So these Chakmas adopted some of the vocabularies of the Arabs and Persians. That would sound more probable, because Chakmas, having Buddhist and Mongoloid by race, wouldn't accept this term Hoda for God. And there are plenty of other words I have online. You can check that. I have a paper written on this, that they have vocabularies which are very much different from Buddhist. So my understanding is that this is an assumption that while in Burma, while in Arakan, they absorb things from the Indian Chandra and Arabic people. So that was before even Rakhines entered Arakan. Historians, especially Western historians, records that Rakhines entered Arakan in 957 AD. 957 AD, which means in the 10th century. And before them, there was an Indian kingdom. Okay, Wasali and few other dynasties were there. And during that time, history also records that Arabs, as they went all the way up to Malacca, Philippines and all those places, they also had some people settled in this area. Also in Chittagong, there are traces that Arabs and Persians settled there. So I'm saying that there was this Rohingya settlement. Rohingya origin goes back all the way to the ancient Indian Chandra dynasty, Chandra kingdom. So they are not just British time settlers. They have their origin in the ancient Hindu, Persian, or Muslim kingdom, which is starting from the 8th century. Okay, they are not just the British time settlers. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. Rohingyas' linguistic similarities with Bangladeshi and Arakanese Chakma and Tanzania says something about Rohingyas' Arakanese origin. But if you ask a Rakhine, not all of them, I have heard a couple of people saying, I have never heard of the word Rohingya. Well, it is as if like you say, I have never heard that I have a brother or a sister, or I have never even seen my neighbor. That's ridiculous. You must have seen your neighbor. You must have seen your brother, unless it was a lost brother. So this is a total hypocrisy. How come Buchanan had heard about the term Rohingya in 1799, which shows that Rohingyas had been there before the British was there. The British occupation of Arakan began in 1823. So 1799, and if I say 1799, some people say, well, that's too early. And then if I say Rohingya term came into existence now, what about that? They have accepted it. Well, that's too late. So in either case, you don't want to accept the term Rohingya because you don't like them probably. Prime Minister Unu accepted them as Burmese citizens. Burma's fascist leader, General Ne Win only, denied their existence starting from 1962. So when people say they have never heard of the word Rohingya or they deny the existence of Rohingya, they are following the trend or explanation by the fascist regime of Burma, who was General Ne Win. So let me put this here. Emic understanding of the Rohingya. When you say emic, it means a term given by its own people. United Nations also accepts that if a term is accepted by a people, by themselves, that's better than a term given by outsiders. So the term Rohingya is adopted by its own people. In this context, I would like to say a couple of things. For example, when you say the word Rohingya, it's the Rohingya people's given term. When you say the word Rohingya with a J, it's the Burmese sounding the same word, Rohingya. So I agree with Dr. Wakaruddin from my research that Rohingya is a term given to people who have been coming from the direction of Burma and going to Chittagong. The term Rohingya actually originated in Chittagong, to my understanding. Because in our locality, let's say I'm from a village called Shadbaria. So my people, an outsider from outside my village would be calling me Shadbaigya or Shadbaigya, Rohingya. So Gya is a term by Chittagonians to denote someone coming from a village or from a place. So it got to be that Rohingya people have been, I'll show you the dates of the time when they have been coming to Chittagong, must be given by Chittagonians, especially southern Chittagonians, that they are coming from the city of Mrohan, so Rohingya. So it shows that from the perspective of people from Chittagong, it shows that Rohingyas have been coming to Chittagong for a long time. And I believe that they have been coming from, especially from the 17th century, which means 1666 is a date when Chittagong was conquered by the Mughals. And this was for a pretext that the Mughal prince Shah Shuja was brutally murdered in Arakan. Arakanese king gave him shelter and seeing his wealth and everything, he massacred them, and he massacred his children, Shah Shuja's children, with axe. And the daughters were starved to death in a dark room. So from that point onward, when Arakan lost Chittagong, Arakan was starting to become weak. And eventually, 1784, Arakan was occupied by Burma. So this caused a great resentment among Arakanese Rakhines. At that time, they were called Mok or Mak. By the way, Rakhine is not a new term. Rakhine has been in use from the 1920s, if I am correct. I think Dr. Later will fix me if he has further or more information about it. But Rakhine, the term has its beginning long time ago. But what I'm saying is it has been used from the 1920s. So people who are saying Rohingya is a new term, I can see it has been there from the 17th century after the Mughals occupied Chittagong, and there had been a massive hatred against the Rohingyas. And when they were going to Chittagong, Chittagonian people called them Rohingya. So that's one thing. At the same time, Rakhine, the word Rakhine was there for a long time. But it has been in use from the 1920s, from my research. There could be a different research, or please let me know if I'm wrong. So both terms are relatively new. What I mean is adopted by their people. They were there, but officially adopted by their people relatively late. One was during the 20s, and it was seriously used during the 30s. Before that, I'm talking about Rakhine, before that they were called Mak, and Rohingyas were known with different names, Muslims, things like this. But from the 50s, they adopted the name Rohingya. So it's an emic understanding. Emic means adopted by people. By the way, another thing about Dr. Lader, who said that it's a political thing. The term was adopted to serve political purpose. Okay, all right. So political purpose, and that I don't agree with this, because when you talk about political purposes, it means that you have this term to get some advantages, jobs and scarce resources. But to me, studying the history of Rohingyas, I see that it is more used as a survival mechanism. They are under threat coming from Burma, from Rakhines. They have adopted these to survive as an ethnic group. So it's more an ethnic level than a political level. Okay, so let's continue. This is what I was talking about, NRC, National Registration Card, I had seen in the refugee camps. Okay. So I'm going to just pass on these. I have details about the origin of the Rohingyas. I said that they had the origin in the Chandra dynasties, Chandra kingdom, and then there were other waves of people coming to Arakan, and during the 20th century they have adopted the term. Differences between the Bengalis and the Rohingyas. On the left-hand side, with Sari, you see that's the Bengali girl, happy and with her daughter, and these are the Rohingya people. They put on two-piece dress, two pieces, which is very close to Burmese dress, whereas the Bangladeshi women put on sari. So that one thing, there could be many more differences. You have seen this mosque. This doesn't look like it's a newly made mosque that was done during the British period. I also want, before I just go into more details, I also want to say that Dr. Later referred that by using the quote of of a historian on Arakan that a huge amount of Rohingyas entered, Chittagonians entered Arakan. And I haven't seen whether if it said about Rohingya or Rakhine, because the quote was fragmented. It was said enormous number of illegal immigrants entered Arakan, but the first part was not there. I hope he talks about Rohingya. If he can show us the word Rohingya without the name Rohingya or Rakhine, it seems more like it is intended for distortion. And as a historian, we should put the entire phrase to mean who actually was there. I want to make it short because time is running out. I was in 1971, I was in Cox's Bazar. I wanted to enter Arakan to go to India to get training. And I was living in a hotel. Then I was warned that don't go to Arakan, they are putting people in jail. So but I have figure, I can't give you the reference at this moment, that 58,000 illegal Rakhines of Bangladesh entered Arakan. So my understanding is that it's not Rohingya entered Arakan because Arakan is a hostile territory. It has been sending out refugees. It was Rakhine illegal Bangladeshis entering Arakan. And also, by the way, the chairman of RNDP, that is causing the genocide at the time, at present, is a Rakhine of Bangladesh. So you have that. I just want to quickly say this. So human rights crisis arising from anti-Rohingya campaign. I'm not going to go into details. Polarization of racial and religious identities. Rakhine attempts to completely eliminate Rohingya from Arakan. Erasure of intellectual heritage through rewriting history. The Chandra Indian heritage was removed from textbooks by saying Rakhines have been there from the beginning. So if you check Rakhine history, you wouldn't find any trace of Indian, Chandra, and Arabic influence. Removal of place names, Arakan, Akia was the name of the city. Now it's Situi. There are a lot of other place names have been changed. Declared to be non-citizens, that's another one. Removal from civil service. I met lots of people from Burma who were thrown out of Arakan, who were thrown out of their civil service jobs, police and military. Destruction of homes and places of worship, killing and forced labor. I want to attribute the entire thing as demolition of Rohingya existence in Arakan. So it's a systematic demolition. I have the date lines when Burma attacked Arakan and there had been population movement to Chittagong. The first one was 1044, 1406, 1661, 1784 when Budapest occupied Arakan, 1930, 1938, 1942-45, 1948, 1962, 1978, 1991, 92. 1992 until the present. So these dates you have in history, you check and you see that the entire population, southern part of Chittagong and Chittagong Hill Tracts, are from Arakan, contrary to the common Burmese claim that Rohingyas entered from Chittagong to Burma. I will take just one moment if you allow me. So I have this in more detail. So this is the 1942 massacre. And the other one is that the Rakhines have their own dream of having a kingdom, and Rakhine provocators are just provoking people to fight against Rohingyas. This is a provocator named HN. These are ancient traces. This is the mosque I'm talking about, Saint Khan Mosque remnants. This is Badr Maqam. Sitwe University, it's no more called Arakan College, Akiyab College. This is Vishali city where you have Hindu gods who are turned into Buddhist-looking gods. Aichan has written a book called Influx Viruses. He says that Rohingyas are like viruses, they have to be exterminated. This is almost like in Hitler's Germany. You have seen pictures like this. Just for a moment, you see the police here. This is not the police, this is Burmese security forces, and they are checking if there are any journalists moving in, and they are allowing the Rakhine vigilantes. These are the vigilantes working among them. So actually, Burmese government military is helping to continue. The monks are involved. Vigilantes, more vigilantes. The same picture. You see, this is the police truck, and vigilantes are destroying it. So no doubt, the refugees, monks are involved. Rohingyas are a whipping boy for the Burmese military. Muslims are disrespecting Burmese women. Okay, so quickly passing on. So my last word here is that it's about contemplation. I have to make it short. I have been traveling for the past couple of months to different countries. When I went to Thailand last August, I had some thoughts about how to solve problems. And then when I went to Japan a couple of weeks ago, I had another type of thought. And now it's like a crisis in contemplation. I don't know what to say because I'm getting into nothing is happening, then things getting worse and worse. So my understanding is that Rohingyas have to, we live in the 21st century. I want to conclude by saying that we live in the 21st century. We cannot avoid Rohingyas to be continued, to be persecuted by the Burmese military. So if that is the case, if atrocities continue, it's as if like a cat. If you corner the cat, it has no other place to go. It's going to surely bite. So I'm worried that it is possible that if Rohingyas cannot take it anymore, some factions might get into some radical type of strategies. So in order to stop happening that, in order to help Rohingyas to survive as humans, we have to have dialogue. We have to bring not just Burmans, we have to bring Rakhines also, because Rakhines are a powerful force within Burma, and unless it is done, we are going to lose more and more human lives, and Burma is going to be more chaotic. And when you say reform has to be through reconciliation. If there is no reconciliation, true reform will not take place. Thank you very much.
Produced by OCE Atlas Digital Media at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign.